Another interesting point to be noted is that even though the wire is infinite, so wire was infinite, the field due to it at non-zero distance is not infinite. So we saw that the wire was infinite, but field was not infinite, field was finite. It tends to blow up only when we come very close to the surface of the wire or the wire. So if we see that diagram that we have seen, so this was the magnetic field, this was the distance. So we saw this kind of graph, and only at r equal to a, so we have this point. Otherwise at every point this field b is finite at every point. So that is, they are trying to say, even though wire is infinite, field is finite. The field is directly proportional to current and inversely proportional to distance from the infinitely long current source. So what we saw that this field is directly proportional to current and inversely proportional to the distance when we are outside the wire. When we are outside the wire, there exists a simple rule to determine the direction of the magnetic field due to a long wire. This rule is called right hand rule. So from the right hand rule we can get the direction. Grasp the wire in your hand with your extended thumb pointing in the direction of the current. So if the current is pointing in this direction, so your thumb is also pointing in the same direction. Your fingers will curl around the direction of the magnetic field. So what would be the direction of our fingers? Our fingers direction would be something like this. So this is the direction of the magnetic field. So from this right hand rule we can tell the direction of the magnetic field. Ampere's circuital law is not new in content from Biot-Savart's law. It is same Biot-Savart's law but with different approach. Both relate the magnetic field and the current, and both express the same physical consequence of a steady electrical current. Ampere's law is to Biot-Savart's law is what Gauss law is to Coulomb's law. So Ampere's law is same to Biot-Savart's law, as we have seen Gauss law was to Coulomb's law. Now we also note that Ampere's circuital law holds for steady currents. Again this is true only for steady currents which do not fluctuate with time. So the currents should not fluctuate with the time. The following example will help us understand the meant by the term enclosed current. So we have also learned what is the enclosed current. So in this example we have seen when we took this bigger circle, the total current enclosed by I, because total current was inside this bigger loop. But when we took this smaller loop, so what was the current enclosed? We simply took the current, multiplied it with the area of this small circle pi r square and divided by this area of cross section pi a square. So this is the current enclosed. So always in Coulomb's law we take the current enclosed, not the total current. It should be noted that while Ampere's circuital law holds for any loop, okay, it may not always facilitate an evaluation of the magnetic field in every case. So we cannot use this law in each and every case. For example, for the case of circular loop, so we discussed this case of circular loop and magnetic field at a point. So we have discussed this case. So it cannot be applied to extract the simple expression B is equal to mu naught I upon 2R. So this cannot be used to extract this result. Now, however, there exist a large number of situations of high symmetry where the law can be conveniently applied. We shall use in the next section to calculate the magnetic field by two commonly used and very useful magnetic systems, solenoid and toroid. So now we will see two systems, solenoid and toroid, using the Ampere's circuital law. Now the solenoid and toroid. The solenoid and toroid are two pieces of equipment which generate magnetic fields. The television uses solenoid to generate magnetic fields needed. The synchrotron uses a combination of both to generate high magnetic fields required. In both solenoid and toroid, we come across a situation of high symmetry. So we will have a high symmetry where Ampere's law can be applied. So we have to see how this Ampere's circuital law is applied to solenoid and toroid. But the same thing could not be applied for a simple case of this circular loop because it does not have any symmetry. So we could not use this to get the expression here or here. So at the center of this loop we cannot get the expression. Now let us see the solenoid. If you see this structure, so what is a solenoid? So we take a piece of wire and start coiling this. Start coiling this wire. So this will become a solenoid. This becomes a solenoid kind of structure or a spring. Only thing is that it is very tightly woven. So solenoid is tightly woven. So spring we find some gaps, but in a solenoid we find no gaps. So this becomes a solenoid. So here we can see a solenoid and this is the side view of the solenoid. So this is the wire of the solenoid here. This is wire is going inside the solenoid. So now let us see what is this solenoid and how does the magnetic field is produced inside this solenoid. So again you can see that current is moving from one side to other side in this solenoid which is generating the magnetic field. Here we can see another view of this solenoid. So here you can see dots and here you can see the cross, that means current is coming like this. The direction of the current is like this. So these are dots, these are crosses. So this is the direction of the current. So from here the current is going inside, from here current is coming outside. So this is the direction of the current in the solenoid. So now let us see what does this solenoid do. We shall discuss as long solenoid. Here you can see that word long solenoid. By long solenoid we mean that the solenoid length is large compared to its radius. So if the radius is this much, then solenoid must be very long, very long. Let us say the radius is 2 centimeter or 3 centimeter, then if solenoid is 1 meter or 50 centimeter, then it is long solenoid. It consists of a long wire woven in form of a helix. So helix, a spring kind of structure, that is a solenoid, where neighboring turns are closely spaced. So again the distance between these turns is very small. So each turn can be regarded as a circular loop. So we have solved for a single circular loop, but in solenoid there are many turns and each turn can be regarded as a circular loop. The net magnetic field is the vector sum of the fields due to the turns. So again the word vector sum is there. So the total magnetic field is due to loop 1 plus due to loop 2 and so on. but again this is a vector sum. Enameled wires are used for winding so that turns are insulated from each other. So we use an insulated wire. So there is an enamel on the wire so that they don't touch each other. So what is this figure? The magnetic field due to a section of solenoid which has been stretched. So here we can see this is the magnetic field. This is the magnetic field due to a solenoid. Stretched out for clarity, only exterior semicircular part is shown. Notice how the circular loops between neighboring turns tend to cancel, so that we will discuss later. The magnetic field of a finite solenoid, so that we will discuss later that how they will cancel each other.